Hello, welcome in, and get ready for 30 tips that will turn you into an absolute animal on the battlefield. Tip number 1, drop with intent. Know where you're going to drop and why you'd like to drop there, what you're going to accomplish, and make sure to ping it on your map if you're playing in a squads game or a duos game. I like to drop to the west side of the SAR research lab because it favors close quarters combat and my scrappy play style. The second half of this tip is to be flexible. Make sure to adjust on the fly based on what you see. If you see on your way down a blue item like a level 3 body vest or a blue shotgun or something of that accord, drop early for that. That brings us to our second tip. The interact/use key will allow you to cancel your umbrella for a faster descent to the ground, allowing you to beat that pesky pink and black panda to that oh so coveted blue shotgun. Just be careful to reactivate your umbrella before you hit the ground, otherwise you'll be briefly stun locked, losing all that valuable time you made up by diving early, and looking very silly. Tip number 3, super jump roll is faster than walking. This one will become apparent pretty quickly, but if you spam dodge roll, you will move quicker than you're walking. This is really good for escaping the fog that's quickly pursuing you as you approach the ring, or just for getting away from an enemy with a bloodlust for you that's hunting you down with double pistols. Continuing to talk about move speed and how to maximize it, different weapons have different weights and therefore affect your move speed accordingly. If you tap or hold the alternate inventory key, you can examine all of your items to check their stats. One of the stats that you'll find is speed, and this dictates how quickly you move with the weapon. The lightest weapon in the game is melee, and if you have long distances to close, you'll want to have your melee weapon out, whereas the slowest weapons in the game is the sniper. Number 4. Break boxes with your melee. Ammo can be hard to come by, especially in the early game when you're looting up from those boxes, so use your melee weapon to break the boxes. Just remember not to get caught with your pants down and be ready to quick draw your gun when you get rolled up on by a squad of fennec foxes. Number 5. Rezzing your allies stops their bleed out. This means fight to the bitter end for your friends, because even if it looks like they're on their last limb, your healing touch is enough to put them at ease. This includes if they've just barely managed to crawl out of the skunk gas and into the ring. You can res them at the last moment. Tip number 6, utilize the dart gun. Especially in the early game when health juice is a limited commodity, you can pick up the dart gun in a pinch after a team fight and heal up your busted allies. The same thing works for yourself. If you find yourself with no heal juice and a half health bar and you see a dart gun, make sure to ping it to alert your allies to take care of you. Remember to always be resourceful and think on your toes. Or paws, or claws, or flipper. Tip number 7, make use of the fires. If you stand next to a fire while you're missing some of your health, it will activate and heal over time anyone that's standing in its vicinity. Drink while you're next to the fire for 2 times healing, or tape while you're next to the fire to fix your vest and your health bar simultaneously. This will get the job done faster and get you back into the mix quicker. Tip number bonus, because I forgot to say a number while recording this, but it goes well with this group of information. Along the lines of early game healing efficiency, super tape can also be an issue. Sometimes it's better to wait on a broken vest and find a new replacement, especially if it's a level 1 or 2 vest that you don't intend to keep for the duration of the game. If you only have 1 or 2 tapes, you might consider holding out for a replacement rather than fixing yours. Tip number 8. Mark the delivery mole. When the delivery mole pops up, it briefly shows you on the map his location. However, after a few seconds, that indicator goes away. If you drop a ping on your map by opening it and left-clicking, you'll be able to know where the mole is all throughout the match. Number 9. Grenade your allies. This might sound counterproductive, but fortunately there is no friendly fire in Super Animal Royale. Therefore, your allies are safe to walk, roll, and fight through your grenades. This goes for frags and smokes. This means that if you're pushing into a squad of enemies, you can throw forward a grenade and then surprise them, especially if they're not aware of this, by having your allies roll through that frag as it's exploding or through that smoke while it's still going off. The same works for the opposite concept. If one of your allies gets downed in a squad fight and needs to crawl back to you for recovery, you can throw a smoke that he can crawl through, but the opponents won't be able to without taking damage. It also zones the opponents off, giving you enough time to res them. Be creative with the way that you use your grenades in your squad games with your allies, and make sure to let them know, especially if you're in voice, which grenades are yours and which grenades aren't. Number 10, make sure to reload weapons you loot off of your opponents. The weapons that your opponents drop will have the same amount of ammunition that they did when they died while they were holding them. If they've already shot half of their magazine, when you pick it up, it will only be half loaded. It'll be a rude awakening when you start your next team fight half dry. Tip 11. This one is especially useful in the pre-game lobby. If you want to synchronize the standard dance, you're going to need to use it when the person you want to sync with is in the neutral position, beginning their left thrust. That's going to be on this frame right here, just before they start thrusting their hand up to the left. Happy dancing! Number 12. If you can see through, you can shoot through. That applies for all of these bars in the prison ward of the Super Animal Research Lab. It also goes for all half walls and half counters in kitchen areas and otherwise. If you can see your opponent, you can shoot your opponent. That brings us to another tip that will give you a positional advantage. Tip number 13, muzzle flash. This is the light that's emitted at the end of your gun barrel whenever you fire. Muzzle flashes can be seen through obstacles, walls, and all other things of the like. In this clip here, I can tell the positioning of my opponent above me by this faint yellow flashing without being able to see him. This will allow you to know, outside of audio cues, exactly where people are fighting in the vicinity of you, and can allow you to get the jump on them by firing preemptively as you turn a corner. Alright, we're going to spend the next few moments talking about your kit, especially in regards to diversity. Beginning with tip number 14, you can only take 2 weapons with you. Try to pick 2 that use different ammo types. Once again, if you open your inventory, you'll find that you can examine what kind of ammunition your weapons use. For example, both the Magnum and the AK-47 use big bullets, while both the SMG and the pistol use small bullets. Try not to stack up on 2 weapon types that use the same ammunition, or you'll find yourself burning through that ammo type much faster and likely end up with nothing. Our next tip that says the same thing in a different way, 15. Try to avoid using 2 weapons that serve the same role, unless you really favor that kind of playstyle. And tip 16. Try to stockpile a different grenade type than your ally. This applies if you're in duos, or especially if you're in squads. Ask your allies what kind of grenade they're trying to stockpile, be it skunks, frags, or bananas, and try to aim for something different. If you find that 3 of you are trying to stockpile frag grenades, you might all spend the first 3 or 4 minutes looting for the same grenade, only to end up with 1 or 2 in each of your inventories. Meanwhile, you've passed 6 or 7 skunk grenades. Number 17. If you're gonna duo, make sure to duo with a god. This way you can get a tax write-off on all the super tape at the end of the year. Number 18. The emu is the designated tandem vehicle of the Super Animal world, and the passenger player can speed the emu up with a convincing slap on the keister by using the primary fire button. If you need to get somewhere a little faster, make sure to remind your partner that it isn't a joyride for them, and they have a job to do. Tip number 19 brings us back to positioning, and is especially useful in the endgame. Everybody has different playstyles, and all of them can work out favorable in their own way, but I've found that playing the edge can be especially useful most often. This means, don't go diving into the middle of the zone or circle, stay towards the edge of it. This way you can carve out your own slice of the pie that you know is nice and safe and you can retreat back to in an emergency, and you don't get caught fighting multiple squads from different angles at the same time. Here's a clip that's an example for you. In this clip, we're pushing towards the middle of one of the final circles for a mole crate. That's all good and well, and we get kitted up until we get pushed by opponents from the bottom side. Now in this case, we should have fled to the northwest or top left, where the edge of the circle is, and hid out there amongst the trees above the tent. What we did instead is fled towards the east, which is more towards the heart of the circle or the middle of it, and we end up getting pinched by people from our right. Our original pursuers from the south end up taking the top left area where we should have gone, and now we're forced to fight on both sides, which ultimately ends with our defeat. Had we played the edge, this could have gone a lot better. Tip 20. Third party. Now this one is a staple for any Battle Royale players, but I feel like Super Animal Royale draws in a different crowd than your traditional Battle Royale, so I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate this. Try to be the third party. If you start a fight with another squad and you're not sure you can finish it before a third squad would be able to show up, you're going to be in a bad position. You want to shoot for being the third party. If you ever hear 2 other squads fighting in the distance somewhere or see someone, then you want to jump in on that at an opportune moment. If 2 other squads have already been fighting for a while, they're likely to be low on resources, half on health, have an unloaded weapon, or something like that, and it's going to give you a large advantage. Try to be the third party and not get third partied, especially in the end game. Tip 21 is more of a proverb, and anyone that plays with me on a regular basis is probably more than tired of hearing it. Fall back before you fall down. That is to simply say, it is better to retreat than to stand and die. If you are able to fall back from a fight after dealing some damage, you can take care of yourself with tapes and health juice, reload, and get back into the fight. But if you keep pressing forward until you fall down, then not only are you out of the fight, but you have to rely on your teammates to bring you back in, which means that not only are you not contributing to the fight, but your ally cannot contribute to the fight that is rezzing you either. It is much better to back away from a fight that you're not certain you can win than to push forward with the risk of dying when you're low. Tip 22. This is going to help you with the milestone achievement for that triple stick of sugar fluff goodness. If you're a fan of beating people down with marshmallows, you're going to need to start a lot of campfires, and the only way to start a campfire is by walking next to it with some of your health missing. Rather than keep yourself constantly on low health after starting fights, you can opt to collect skunk grenades and throw them on yourself. Stand at the edge of the radius, take just a bit of damage next to the campfire, and voila! You'll be stacking up those campfires and marshmallows much faster than before. Tip 23. Rebind the use and interact key to right mouse button. I found that using E to pick up weapons isn't always the best for me. It can make it more difficult to pick up what you want to while you're strafing over a pile of loot in a tense situation. Right mouse button is by default unbound and obviously easily accessible, so I just go ahead and swap that use key over to the right mouse key. That means you'll be diving out of the plane, picking up items, and a number of other things with the right mouse key thereon. Tip 24. Double smoke. If you find that there are opponents at the edge of the ring pushing inwards and the zone is closing in on them, you can throw your skunk grenades out at them and get double smoke damage. It'll be harder for them to discern where your skunk grenades are because they blend in with the green gas from the environment, but they will take double damage if they end up passing through the zone and your skunk smoke at the same time. Tip 25. The banana bait. This tip comes to you courtesy of War190. Bananas can often be more difficult to utilize than the other grenade types, but they do have their uses beyond blocking off chokes. For example, find some priority or high tier loot and throw the bananas on top of them. You'll see that in the case of larger items like a 3 vest or a minigun, the banana will be obscured underneath the item you're throwing it at. This works especially well at mole crates. Set yourself a clever trap and then hide in the vicinity. Just like with muzzle flashes, you can see and hear a banana trip through a wall. Just wait for your unsuspecting prey to spring the trap and jump into action. Tip 26. Upgrade your broken vest. Specifically, upgrade your broken vest to their broken vest. Even in the case that you kill your opponent and their vest is broken, it might favor you to take it, especially if you're sitting on your own broken vest of 1 or 2 quality. Taking their 3 quality vest is only an upgrade. Even if you don't have the tapes to fix it right now, you might have the tapes to fix it later before you find another full vest. Tip 27. This applies specifically to solo queue. The tape gun is possibly the best equipment in the game. It depends slightly based on your playstyle, and like I said, applies more to solo queue than to squads. But the tape gun allows you to keep running, gunning, and recover after a fight much faster than you would be able to otherwise. It especially suits a scrappy hunting playstyle, but is good for anyone, and is better in solos than squads because you're guaranteed to be getting the last hit, and therefore your tape gun is always going to activate on your victims. If you don't know what it does, it makes it to where whenever you drop an opponent, their vest drops with 2 bars of health, allowing you to save precious time on your recovery turnaround and getting you back into the fight quicker. Tip 28. Weapon order. If you toggle your inventory, you can rearrange the order of your weapons. You only have 2 of them, but it's still important that you can rely on muscle memory to draw the type of weapon that you want. I put my close range weapon in the first slot and my long range weapon in the second slot. I also put what I call my panic weapon in the first slot. This is going to be the weapon that you resort to whenever you turn a corner blindly with your melee out and face check an opponent, or you're breaking boxes and someone unfriendly pokes their head around the corner at you. Tip 29. Use audio cues. The sound design in this game is excellent, and if you're not playing with the audio on, you're at a disadvantage. In this clip here, I hear someone approaching from the north, throw a grenade behind me, and what do you know? It's a free kill. You can hear all sorts of things, from the red crates that drop blue items across the map beeping, the spawn of the mole chest, squads fighting all around you. You can hear people taping or drinking health juice around a wall without being able to see them. There are all sorts of advantages to it, so make sure to use it. Alright, and the final tip, number 30. You have a slew of customization options at your disposal in this game, so go all out. And wear something intimidating. Put something on that's gonna strike fear into the hearts of those animals. Tell them you're a hunter, you're a savage, that they're the prey and you're the predator. Look at this. This won't do. We gotta give this guy a makeover. Now that's what I'm talking about. Show me your game face. Arrgh. Alright, that was tip number 30, and that marks the close for this video. Thank you for watching to the end, and hopefully you learned something. Applying these tips to your games can only help you improve. If you have a clever or resourceful tip that I didn't cover in this video, feel free to drop it in the comments to help out your fellow animals. If you'd like to see more of my content, I stream at twitch.tv/CaptainBara7. You can find me playing Super Animal Royale and a slew of other games over there. Feel free to come by, say hi, talk in the chat, or maybe even join my squad. And special thanks to MUZZLE for being my duo partner for all this footage. See ya!